Hey, welcome to the Village Green. This is NBTV show on the environment. Today we have a success story and a failure. So we'll bookend them. And the success story is a story of a lot of people working together, particularly one man. And the failure is a lot of people working together, but not succeeding, unfortunately. So here we go. Okay, so government can move very slowly, sort of like a glacier, but it also can move pretty quickly, which not maybe like a lava flow, but still quickly. And this is sort of a combination of them, because I know what we're going to talk about, we were talking about when I was on council all those years ago, and I think you were probably talking about it even before then.
Correct.
But then all of a sudden, it seemed like last year, it got traction.
It came together finally.
Finally. So let's talk about what is this? This is something brand new, and it's on Ocean Boulevard in Corona del Mar.
Well, when you stand here with our new terrace viewpoint, you'd think it is always here with this nice view. But earlier, the plants came up high, and there was no sidewalk here. And we kept wanting to have a viewpoint. And the reason it started out was on your General Plan Advisory Committee. We were studying how to make Newport Beach better and keep it as quality of life. And one of the items in that I really zeroed in on was preserving vista points and creating new vista points.
Yes, public views.
So that was back in, when was that?
Well, we did. It was passed in 2006. We worked on it for 4 years before that.
Yeah, a whole year of meetings in 2002, I think, and then 2006. So since that time, I was going around the city looking for various viewpoints, and I came here and I thought, first reaction was, why do we have so much concrete here? This is unbelievable for a street. We need more landscaping. And then I started trying to say, well, this is the perfect spot for a viewpoint. So I came up with a little plan, and 13 years ago, and started promoting it. And China Cove residents and the residents on Ocean Boulevard came unglued. They didn't want to have any more tourists down here. They have a lot of issues in China Cove since there's no parking. But people come down there all the time anyway. And
I think just to give a little perspective too, Ocean Boulevard, up and down Ocean Boulevard at that time, the residents were very unhappy because there was a lot of late night noise. We weren't really cleaning the beach up with people at 10 o'clock the way we were supposed to. And so I think everybody was very sensitive. It was like one more thing. And we put in the cameras so we could, motion detective cameras at places like Little Corona. We had the police come down and lock the gate, sweep the beach and lock the gate at 10. And that has made a big difference, I think. And so I think maybe over the years when it wasn't so noisy, that also sort of quieted the clamor.
Good point, good point. And the city's contract for maintenance and picking up the trash receptacles every day, they do a fantastic job, and that helps. You know, it's a broken window type thing, you know. If you don't fix it, it gets worse.
Yeah,
all around.
Absolutely. And the other part of it is too, I think part of it was that more and more people, because this is such a place to walk, that the fact that there was that incomplete sidewalk, there was no sidewalk here, you're walking in the street suddenly, I think people began to see the wisdom of having a complete sidewalk, particularly with a street this wide.
Right, correct. Yeah. And I think where it all started, I kind of gave up after 10 years of trying to promote it. You know, I thought 10 years is my max, heck with it. But Mike Sinacori at the city, he kept kind of coming up with different plans and getting shot down by the people and over again. And so what kind of tipped it over to me was when the Corona del Mar Residents Association decided to have an overall look at Ocean Boulevard at that. So this became part of the overall thing rather than just the focus of this one little item. And people, even along Ocean Boulevard, said, that's realistic, you know. Let's do it for all of our neighbors and not worry about some of the little problems.
Well, and so then I remember we had, was it 6 months ago, or was it that long ago, when we took a walk with the great
PB&R?
Yeah, the PB&R Commission.
Yeah.
And they all seemed like, wow, yeah, I mean, you walk them through it, showing the vision, and they all seemed great. I mean, I think that helped. And then it seemed like the very next day, some of the bushes were trimmed.
Exactly, yeah. And we have a lot to thank for Joy for that. She's been bugging the city for a long time to keep it down, and they really have done a superb job of trimming the bushes. So we have these nice open views now.
Well, yeah, I mean, it seemed like just all of a sudden, the bushes got trimmed, and the sidewalk is going in, and then this. And I think what was particularly nice for me is when I walked down here with my board to go paddle, and so many mornings I would see this man sitting in this little teeny spot, in his wheelchair, and you're thinking, this is obviously restorative to him. He gets a great deal of pleasure out of looking at this view. It wouldn't be nice if he could have actually some room for everything. So now there's plenty of room plus a bench.
He would come up there every afternoon and watch the sunset. And so Walt Hall got on the bandwagon, and he felt sorry for him. And so now we have a nice ADA access all the way through here, turn around through wheelchairs. All of these items were the road and the stairs down to China Cove, and that were all put in 100 years ago. And obviously way before ADA, so
yes.
They don't really meet things. But anyway, it's really great, and I think that we ought to have a contest for naming this area.
That's a good idea.
We have Inspiration Point, Lookout Point. Little Corona is a great spot, but it doesn't have a name for
right,
it.
yeah.
And was the center of the start of Corona del Mar. This is where it all started happening 100 years ago. And so this is it's more of a vista point. It's kind of a terrace. So Village Terrace, Dahlia Terrace.
Well, and I think one of the things that impressed the PV&R Commission was the fact that we who live here don't view this simply as Ocean Boulevard and a place to walk. For us, it's like a long park.
Right.
And it's a very social area. You see all your neighbors here. And so to have a place where you can sort of congregate, if you want to sit and talk for a minute, I haven't seen you in a long time, and chat and have a company, not clogging up the sidewalk. That's great. Although I had to laugh. The day after the sidewalk was completed, they already had some of the fitness people out there doing their exercises on it. So anything else on that?
No, I think that covers it pretty much. I think your thoughts on all of Ocean is that it's been neglected, basically. It hasn't been treated as a whole park, and it's just little pieces here and there. And now PV&R Commission is going to treat it that way, and I think it'll be really, really good for our neighbors.
Well, I think that's happened in the last, 20 years or so, not here necessarily, but just as when Maya Lin did the Vietnam Memorial, it sort of changed the concept of memorials. And then, what's the park in New York, the one that's the elevated one?
The new one?
Relatively new.
The highlight.
Yeah, that sort of said, all these areas that you could make a park of that you wouldn't think of before, and I think that's trickled down to us now and saying this is a different concept of a park, but it doesn't mean it cannot be a park.
One of our famous mayors in Newport Beach related that this is our community center. This is where we meet everybody. I won't say the name, but.
All right, so one of the issues that seemed like so simple a solution, yet was not getting solved, was the fact that there is a regulation, I believe, about hedge height.
Correct.
Along Ocean Boulevard, and that hedges have been allowed, vegetation, let's say, have been allowed to grow so high that it obscured all views.
It's one of the good things about vegetation and plants. They grow higher and higher, and this is a typical place where this was up about 4 or 5 feet higher, and finally the city crews came down and trimmed this down, opened up the view. It's perfect.
Yeah, so in other words, if you can picture that all of a sudden you're seeing this much less of this view, and this was true all along Ocean Boulevard. There were so many areas, and we're another area right up there that was trimmed, and it just makes such a difference. It just is so expansive and everything.
It's such a simple thing. I know right down at Little Corona, they have a nice little bench to look out over, and you sit down in it, and there was a big hedge right in front. So the city trimmed that down, and then later they took it all out, and there's nice plants there now, nice and low. So it's,
Well, and I think that's something else that's occurring right now, is that, say, this was not conceived of as one area. It wasn't conceived as anything except a place to put houses in a street initially, long ago. And now that this concept of a park, a linear park is there, then all of a sudden it makes you rethink a lot about your, before you just planned anything.
right.
But now you're thinking, I'm looking at the sidewalk over there, suddenly there's succulents alongside of there, which is, low growing and that sort of thing. And so there's been just a gradual transformation.
Right.
Of
It's
this
slowly
whole
going to
thing.
change and make it a lot better for everybody that uses the park and walks all the time, and it's just going to get better and better.
And also, I know that initially some of the residents that are right on Ocean Boulevard had a concern, but their views are also improved by this.
Exactly.
And I know that
And their
they have
views are
paid a
important for
lot
them.
for their views, so they have welcomed this as well.
Right.
Well, Ron, I just want to thank you for all your persistence on this, because I don't think it would have happened without you.
Well, I'm kind of stubborn and won't give up.
Well, that's good. We don't always celebrate stubbornness, but in this case, we are certainly doing that.
Well, thank you very much.
All
Appreciate
right.
it. Appreciate all you've been doing too.
Well, we all
Never
do,
give up.
We all do our little bit. We're going to have another story where I think I have given up, but we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
All right, thanks, Ron. All right, Ron talked about stubbornness, and I don't know whether this is a tale of stubbornness or just finally giving up. We are at Little Corona, and below me you can see the little dam at the mouth of Buck Gully, which was put in, nobody knows why, in the early 70s. And right away, people started noticing differences in the beach, and my father began to complain to the city, about the situation. And nothing was done. And then when the Newport Coast is being built, the EIR went out. You have a time to comment on the environmental impact report, and our chapter of surf riders said, hey, there's going to be an issue of runoff from these areas. You better have them address that. And the city just went, no, forget it. They made no mention of runoff. The only comment I can remember was that Newport Coast had to make the streets wide enough so the fire trucks could get in. Well, lo and behold, as Newport Coast was beginning to be built out, we saw more and more water coming down. And the combination of building along Buck Gully and Morning Canyon and the dam at the mouth of Buck Gully has totally destroyed the natural process, because the sand came down from Buck Gully. This Little Corona, we had a study done. It's not part of the bigger area where the sand drifts down from other areas to the north. This is its own little self-contained area, and all of a sudden nothing was happening. So again, we began trying to work with the city, and between the city turning a deaf ear for a long time, although they became more responsive, and the agencies, it has been, I don't know, it's been a travesty in some ways. Coastkeeper had a great idea that we would take the water up at Fifth Avenue and divert it. And then it wouldn't be coming down to the beach and make everything much better. And Fish and Wildlife said, sorry guys, you've made a riparian habitat now and you can't disturb it. The water has to come through. So, okay, Coastkeeper said, well, we'll pick up the water right before it gets to the little dam, and they can take the dam out then. And we'll put it into the sewer system. Well, unfortunately, at that time, the sewer system here, the Schiff wasn't able to handle that kind of water. And of course, the water has just increased, because not only is there the runoff from landscaping, but there's all that water from Newport Coast and other areas has increased the water level. So you've got water just coming up out of the ground. More and more water coming down. So that wasn't going to work. And then staff, taking pity on me, I think, came up with a great idea that what we would do is we would infiltrate the water as it came from the little dam. We'd infiltrate it down into the sand. It would go out cleaned, much cleaner, but underwater so it wouldn't be disturbing the beach. The sand would have a chance to build up a little bit. Coastal Commission shot that down. The Coastal Commission is supposed to, I'm on a rant here, is supposed to be protecting our beaches, didn't like the idea. In fact, and one of the comments that really just, I will never forget this, they said, well, the seagulls use that as a water source. I'm thinking, okay, these are the same seagulls that flew, what, 4 or 5 miles to the dump every day to feed. They can't jump over the thing and go 3 feet to get water. Anyway, so what's happened is there's been erosion. The city's had to do special projects to stop erosion so houses don't fall in. The beach is gradually just disappearing. And here's what's going to happen. We have sea level rise. And you cannot save a beach like Little Corona from sea level rise. It just would be too much of an investment for it. I mean, what are you going to do? Put up a seawall there? That's not going to do anything. Are you going to have a seawall here? So what do? Maybe you take the wall out and you create an estuary. The salt water goes in and mixes with the fresh water. I don't know. But this has been, I think, I just feel a sense of failure that over the years, for what is it, how many is that, 30, 50 years at least, efforts have been made by different groups and different individuals, and it has been basically to no avail. And in a time when our beaches are more precious than ever, we haven't been able to save this one. So that's a sad story to me, and one that we should learn from, that we need to be more cognizant of the processes so we don't disrupt them as much and then later try to figure it out. Well, that's our show. As you can see, things work at times, things don't work at other times. I think one thing we can take away from this is that it's much easier when you're talking about engineering, which is basically what we're talking about with the Ocean Boulevard project. It's much more difficult when you're talking about natural processes that have been disrupted to try to figure out how to re-engineer them. So that's our show, and until next month, let's all work on making our village green.